Hey witches, I'm Gory B Movie, and with me today is my very dashing husband, Danny Nightmare from Horror Addicts.
How's it going?
Let's give him a big ol' welcome in the comments below, because, you know, he's pretty great.
Cut it out.
He has dad jokes, but he's pretty great, I promise. So today we're going to do a completely just vlog style, spoiler-filled review of Scream. Going into this movie, I try to avoid spoilers, but I did read some reviews saying that this was like the bloodiest, the goriest Scream, and I have to agree. So let's talk about our favorite kills in this movie. Dylan Minnette's mom, the sheriff, when she comes home, I did not expect Ghostface to come out from behind that bush and just be like, yeah!
Plain as day in front of everyone. Just
That
stab,
jump
stab,
scare
stab.
got me.
And then they teased it a bunch with him later with like the fridge door and all these other doors. And like,
Yeah, the one where it goes through Dylan Minnette's mouth, I was just like, oh my god!
yeah, that was a really good one. Like, it made me flinch. Like, ouch. But
Because I've never seen that before, and I'd love to see a kill I've never seen before, you know?
It was just a typical stabbing in a sense, but they made it different and it was a little more up close and personal.
And it looked real. The effects in this are so good. I don't know if it's really good CGI or really good practical, but it looks real. But you just feel that kill. And that wasn't the only one. What was one that stood out to you?
Before we leave that one, I just want to say, who's going to eat all those lemon squares now? His mom made him a bunch of lemon squares, and now she did, and he did. And obviously Dewey ain't eating her lemon squares anymore.
It's not cheating if you eat her lemon squares.
No, but it is a little tart. Anyways, one of the best deaths, well, just Dewey's death. It was sad, but oh man, what an honor, I guess, as they put it. Just double penetrated.
I wonder which of the ghost faces killed him.
Well, it had to have been Amber, because the other one was in the elevator.
Yeah?
Yeah, Ricky was in the elevator. It had to have been Amber. And I think she even says it towards the end. That's why Courtney Cox shoots her a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Actually, Amber's death was awesome. She burned up badly.
So, yeah, she got shot, right? And then she lands on the oven, and she just goes right up, and she's still not dead, because she's the one who shows up for that final kill at the end.
You gotta shoot them in the head or they come back.
That was awesome. Definitely a lot of memorable kills in this. One where the kill wasn't so memorable, but I just liked the cinematography of it. I liked the music. Was the guy who was related to Stu who died outside the bar.
Yeah.
Like, the cinematography there was so good, and Ghostface looked so scary, and then they were playing that Nick Cave song, so, like, I just liked that whole scene.
That kind of reminded me a little bit of Halloween 5 when Michael Myers kills the one guy who's just a douchebag but has a nice car. That's kind of what happened.
Who was also named Michael.
Yeah, that's basically kind of what happened. There's a douchebag. He was really only in the movie just to be killed, but he had a nice car.
So let's talk about the characters. So we have our legacy characters in this, and as we mentioned in our spoiler-free review, Gale and Sydney are barely in this movie. They show up for the third act, but Dewey is in it for quite a bit of the film, and I think he is honestly the best character in the movie.
You get a lot of Dewey, and then he kind of passes it on to Gale and Sydney at the end, so...
Did you think they were going to kill Gale?
I wasn't 100% sure they were going to kill any of them, to be honest. I felt that since we were getting a lot of Dewey in the beginning, I kind of saw that one coming.
Well, one thing I said when I talked about this in my anticipated movies video is I wanted the stakes raised, because I feel like for the last few movies since, you know, the first Scream, that Gale, Sydney, and Dewey, like, they just seem to be untouchable. Like, even when they get hurt, they bounce back. So I wanted the stakes raised in this, and so I know it's blasphemy to say so, but I was happy that they killed off Dewey. I was like, okay, so now anybody can die.
It was sad, and I felt bad after he died, but at least the movie made me feel something. It'd been better if, it's better that happened than if they all just survived, like you said. That would have been like, okay. Another roller coaster ride where everybody's safe at the end.
Yeah, that was my problem with Scream 4, is no matter what the circumstance, I just didn't feel like anything bad was going to happen to those characters.
Previous movie, Dewey alone had been stabbed 9 times, so yeah, number 10 and 11 finally did him in.
Oh, he's been stabbed so many times. He had that one in part 3 where the knife's swirling and it hits him in the head. He's had so many things happen to him.
So, He finally...
He's in bad shape.
He finally got taken down. But you know what? You still can't kill David Arquette, and I'd love to wrestle that man.
Yeah, he's referencing a documentary about David Arquette's wrestling career. So if you haven't seen You Can't Kill David Arquette, that is a good one to check out.
This movie did it. It made me sad.
It was very sad. I'm glad they didn't also kill Gale. I think that would be a little overboard. Though, honestly, Gale and Sydney, they didn't bring a whole lot to the movie.
Yeah. And Sydney, in the story, she had a good reason for barely being in it. And, like, it's honestly kind of stupid that she even showed up. Because she's like, I'm married and I have daughters. Why would I ever go back to that town?
Well, she showed up because Dewey died. So
I know.
To me, that made sense.
It does. But that's what I'm saying. It makes sense that she's not in the movie. It's just, don't expect a lot of Sydney.
But I did like some of the Easter eggs. Like, I saw that they had Tatum's ashes in his trailer.
Randy had his whole little memorial, like, on his thing for his...
And his sister came back.
Yep, so...
Yeah, so let's talk about how these characters are related to the new characters. So, there's the new final girl whose name I keep forgetting, because, honestly, I don't dislike her, but she's just really forgettable. I just saw the movie, and I cannot remember her name. I remember her sister's name. I remember a lot of other characters' names. I cannot remember her name. But she's the one who's related to Billy Loomis. And that's kind of interesting. And I really wish they would have explored that more. Like, we've had a lot of movies to explore Sydney and the way that she thinks and the way that she feels and her history with her mom. And this character has a interesting backstory. And it's kind of just packaged into that one short dialogue with her sister in the hospital. And it's just like, wow, you just crammed that exposition in there. They could have done a flashback. They could have shown her have some more like contemplative moments to make us really feel for her.
But they kind of gave us what I guess in Scream 3 did with Ghost Mom Sydney. She has Ghost Dad. Skeet Ulrich just shows up for this. And he's a ghost. And he looks like how he did when he died. For reasons.
I kind of thought that he was sort of like the Obi-Wan, like the Force ghost that's like...
Serial killer force is with you.
Yeah, he's like trying to get her to kill, like, the Emperor if he was a Force ghost. Feel your hatred, come to the dark side.
But he is telling her, like, join the dark side to fight the dark side, like fire to fight fire type thing. Like, we'll go find out who this killer is, like, you know, just be a killer to do it.
But before there even is anything like that, it seems like she has this kind of dark part of her that's pulling her. And I feel it's almost kind of like Dexter, where she has this part of her that definitely is craving violence. Mm-hmm. But she's moral enough that she would never do that. Yeah. This movie gives her a prime opportunity to just unleash that beast in a way that is warranted.
She has a lot bottled up, obviously daddy issues. It ruined her whole family, and she blames herself for that because she found out and she accidentally told her dad and he left her family. She's got rage in her. It's just nice that at the end you finally get to explore that. It just took a long time. I wish we could have saw a little more in the beginning just so we could have latched onto her better and cared a little more about her. But they save it all for the end.
When she kills
Ricky,
that was awesome. That's something I did like in this with the kills, is when Ghostface kills, it's not just stab, it's like stab, 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 stab. Like, it's so overkill, but it's kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm. And, well, hell, you could go from there on. Will she be in the next movie? Will she even be a killer? Because now that she's got a taste for blood and she's, you know, still seeing Ghost Dad in her head, who knows where she's going to go.
I hope if they do another movie with her that they explore her more. Like, this was, you know, I've seen some people compare it to like Force Awakens, and that this is a lot of fan service. And the difference between fan service and like paying tribute is it doesn't serve a purpose for the story. So much of the stuff in this movie is just calling back to the original movie. It's member berries. It's, oh, remember this thing that you like? And that got really distracting to the point where I'm like, okay, you know, and it would pull me out of the movie. And I really just wanted to get to know these new characters, and I wanted to care about them and hear what their story is, because I've already seen Scream. If I want to see Scream, I'll go watch Scream. So I hope that the next one is more of like an Empire Strikes Back thing. You know, if it continues on this story and really explores the broken psyche of this very complicated final girl.
Yeah, you mentioned Dexter earlier, and I kind of, if there is a sequel with her, I wouldn't mind seeing her be like this anti-hero kind of serial killer who's maybe killing bad people or other killers, or just, I don't know, maybe seeing her violence come out again, but maybe for better reasons than just a killer.
That would be cool, because so many final girls, like you watch Halloween with Laurie Strode, when she's done defending herself against Michael, she throws the knife aside. Like, every time she has a weapon, when she's defended herself, she's like, and I'm done with that. And I've always interpreted it as, like, she doesn't want to be a killer. She's just a normal girl who's in a horrible situation, and she's, like, discarding like that. Like, she wants to get rid of that from her life. And this girl is a killer. Yeah. So it would be cool if there was a final girl who actually had serial killer chops, who was actually like a real force, who instead of being defensive was offensive, who was like hunting them down.
Yeah, imagine like another group of Ghostface copycat killers. Maybe she even puts on the Ghostface herself to infiltrate and start hunting other Ghostface. I don't know. There's all kinds of weird ways.
Like that.
I don't know either. I'm spitballing. I would like to see her kind of.
I want my Ghostface straight up bad. I don't want my Ghostface killing bad people. I don't want that.
All right. Well, then I guess we won't do that.
But, I mean, hey, if you want to see it, though, you can share your thoughts on it.
I just thought it'd be a cool idea.
I do think they've opened it up to some interesting things. Then they have the random guy killed from the bar. He was related to Stu. The twins are related to Randy, and they kind of passed on Randy's movie knowledge trivia.
One of them specifically. The other one, not so much.
Though one of the scenes where I just feel like they pushed it too far was the scenes that they were showing us stab were pretty much exactly shot for shot Scream. The shots we saw of Stab in previous movies, they looked like a cheesy version of what we saw. I didn't like that it was down to the same outfits Scream.
Though, since Gail had footage of that might have been why that scene was done shot for shot.
Maybe. I just didn't really like it. And then when she's watching Randy's character say, behind you, Jamie, I was just... that was a scene I really didn't like. I was like, you're just going way too far. Because the problem with this movie is it is very serious. It's like, you need to pick a tone here. Do you want to do this, like, more serious version of Scream? Or do you want to stay in line with the other ones and keep it pretty light and have, a lot of jokes and stuff?
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about elevated horror, but I don't think it ever got elevated.
No.
It seemed like it kind of wanted to tone-wise, but with those type of meta jokes and stuff in there, it never got there.
Well, and see, that's the thing. They make a comment about elevated horror, and I guess the whole point of this movie with the killer's motivation was that they just loved Stab, and they were angry that Stab 8 ruined what they liked, which, by the way, for any of you who are in this situation, a sequel cannot take away something that you love. You still have it. Just do what I do with Batman and Robin. Just pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The point of this is that even though, like, the girl says in the beginning that she doesn't want to watch just a stabbing movie, a movie where it's just blood and gore and there's no substance, a movie like Stab, there are people who genuinely love those movies where that movie means something to them. And that's how I feel about a lot of movies that I guess more mainstream audiences might write off. There's tons of just cheesy, gory movies that mean a lot to me. And so I got that, but what I think I would have liked to see them do with this movie, because the point was that Stab, even if it is popcorn horror, has value. It means something to these characters. I would have liked it if this movie went with more of a traditional, just lighthearted slasher movie type tone. Because it felt like it was trying to be more serious. Like it was trying to get you to take this more seriously. Like it was almost going for that elevated horror. And I think if they would have been the opposite of elevated horror, if they would have just leaned in to the meta humor, to that lighter tone, and then just increased the gore, I think that would have worked better.
It definitely needed to pick a lane better, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just, for me, like, I know horrible things happen in those movies, but when I finish Scream or Scream 2, I'm in a really good mood. Like, the music comes up and everything, and I'm like, I just had a really good time. And this movie, I didn't have a bad time, but I didn't leave the theater on that high that I did when I first saw Scream or Scream 2.
Probably, honestly, I did. The music came on, and I was like, yeah, I jammed. I had a good time. I do feel like the tone was a little off in some places, but it was so fast-paced and just balls to the wall, killing and joking, and I don't know. I had a good time, even if I won't say it's, high art or like anything, but I don't think that was fun.
And I don't think it was an entire miss. I think there's some parts where it's just was perfect. Like I told you, that scene I liked outside the bar. I really liked it. There was a lot of scenes. That opening scene was terrific. I love the way Ghostface toyed with that girl. I also like that she survived, which we've never seen before.
Yeah.
It's just there was a few scenes like the one where she's on the couch watching the movie where I'm like, okay. Like, we get it, you know, but it just didn't fit the tone that they were going for. So I just wanted to move past that.
There's a few camera angles I really enjoyed too, just like where it would like zoom in on the like knife and someone would pick it up and then the camera would like come up and tilt. I was like,
yeah, they did lots of like Dutch angles where they kind of tilt the camera a little bit to make it kind of off center.
I enjoyed that.
I like that they didn't do the smudgy camera stuff that they did in Scream 4. I know Wes Craven did that as an intentional thing to kind of show that this was the reboot, but I didn't really care for that, and I like that this had just more of a traditional cinematic look.
Yeah. Motivation, though, that's...
So yeah, let's talk about the motivation. So the motivation in the first Scream, it starts off being like blaming it on the movies, but then you find out that there is a deeper thing under that. You know, Billy, it's revenge for his mom, and Stu, I mean, when you think about it, Casey was his girlfriend, Tatum was his girlfriend. I feel like even with Stu, there was something deeper there, more than just the movies. I didn't mind the motivation on this, but I wish there was a little bit more substance to it. Like, why do you care so much? I mean, I get upset about some remakes and stuff too, but not enough to murder somebody. So what pushed you to murder levels of fandom?
Yeah, enough to kill? No, even if you remake some of my favorite movies and make crappy ones, I'm probably not going to kill people for it. Probably not. Hollywood hasn't pushed me that far, that's for sure. So I thought that was kind of weak. And one of them, it's like, she didn't really go into what her motive was other than her dad bought Stu's house. And she met someone else who liked the Stab movies on Reddit.
And the other guy was just a massive Stab fan.
So I guess he just pulled her into the wicked world of killing people, but...
Though, in fairness, I do think the movie's kind of commenting on toxic fandom. I mean, especially, I think we've seen that recently with the Halloween fandom. The Halloween fandom is insane. There are lots of awesome Halloween fans. I am not shitting on Halloween fans. I am a Halloween fan. You know, my buddy Jimmy Champagne, he's a Halloween fan. CZ's World, they love Halloween. But there are some people, when you go on to the review sites, where they just get really like agitated about like a particular sequel that wasn't what they wanted, you know, instead of just being, you know.
Or they hate all the other franchises because they're not as good as Halloween or something.
Yeah.
There's some people that are like that too. Like, well, Friday the 13th is garbage compared to Halloween's franchise. It's
that toxic fandom where some people believe that if you like something, that means you have to hate something else. And you don't need to do that. Like, I liked... totally shifting gears here, but Spider-Man No Way Home, I like how it showed, no, you don't need to pick Garfield, Maguire, or Holland. You can love all of them.
Yeah.
It's fine. You don't have to hate something just because you love something else. Like, if you love Halloween, you can still like Chucky. In fact, if you love Halloween 1, you can love Resurrection. You can like whatever the fuck you want.
You could not like Scream 2, but like Scream Season 3 of the TV show. I mean, it's your choice.
But I feel like people get into these forums and then these like different online platforms where they are around other fans and they just get so worked up over just the most ridiculous things.
So I guess that's the motivation of this movie. And I can see it, but at the same time, it's not the best motivation that they've had in the movies. But then again, I've seen people like in the news, like, kill each other over, like, World of Warcraft comments towards each other, like, so, I don't know, I guess the internet can get that heated.
Yeah.
And imagine if you really did have access to Stu's house, and you were that big of a fanboy, and you really thought maybe there was a way you could go and, like, kill these characters that you're obsessed with, just to teach Hollywood a lesson, to make them have a better movie next time.
Yeah, because they want them to base a new movie on this.
So the fact that I know that people do kill for ridiculous reasons, I guess the fact that, you know, these people are in a situation where they can actually motivate Hollywood and, like, change the narrative their own way, yeah, I could see it. And one thing I think with 4 is those younger characters and the newer characters they introduced, like Kirby especially.
Oh, I wanted to see Kirby.
Great. And I think they would have been a better cast to pass the torch to. Unfortunately, in 4, like, pretty much all of them die, and there is nobody to pass the torch to. This one, there's younger people to live and pass the torch on as, like, the new final girl and stuff.
I would have rather, instead of introducing all these people, because they had too many fucking people in this movie. Like, I like Dylan Minna as an actor, didn't give a crap about his character, didn't really care about the twin brother, like, Jock? I didn't care about his girlfriend. A lot of these characters got zero development. I know Wes Craven did tweet, while he was still alive, that Kirby is alive, that when we last saw her, she was still breathing. Why not bring Kirby back? Everybody loves Kirby. Instead of having these twins, could have had Kirby.
And Stu. I wanted Stu back.
I wanted Stu back so bad. So they bring back Billy Loomis, which...
As a ghost.
That was cool. I didn't expect that, but why didn't you bring back Stu? He's all that had Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
He's all that.
He couldn't have been too busy, I would assume.
I don't think he was busy. I don't think they invited him.
Either that or he turned him down.
Because he has said multiple times, one, that as far as he's concerned, Stu's still alive because Stu was going to be in part 3. Mm-hmm. And then they had to buy him out of his contract. He has said multiple times that he wanted to do that and that he wants to be involved. So I know he's game for a Scream movie. I don't know why they excluded him.
He's always been small cameos in the background as well.
But he's not really playing Stu because they're not giving any attention to that.
I'm just saying, if he could show up for that, then you think he could show up for something else.
He did the cameos because he was friends with Neve Campbell and them, so he'd come up to visit everybody and they'd be like, just join this party scene or join this scene in the background.
Yeah. But I'm saying, if he could be there for that, why couldn't he be there for something good in this? But I don't know. I don't know the details on that. I just wish I could have seen him. Would have liked to see Kirby back. There's just a few characters that, wouldn't have mind popping up.
It's a real missed opportunity to not bring back Stu. And I think they should have brought back Kirby too.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just way too many new characters and too many characters I didn't care about. Honestly, the character I cared the most about, I liked Tara, the girl who gets attacked in the very beginning. I liked her a lot. And I think it's mostly just because Jenna Ortega does such a good job. And she brought so much emotion to the role. So I was pretty invested in her. I was more invested in her than even her sister, whose name I can't remember. I kind of would have liked it more if she was the main one.
Yeah, I really liked Tara. Once I said, it could have been a little bit of kind of cheap sympathy, because constantly Tara is in pain in this movie. She has to go through so many scenes of brutal being attacked, just trying to get away. She's hurting herself just to help.
I liked Amber once she was revealed as a killer. Then she became really interesting. Before that, I was like, I loved Psycho Amber. She was great.
I had a feeling it was Amber all along. There's a video in the beginning that, the killer threatens Amber. And I'm like, And then, the killer let Tara live. And I'm like, okay. That's when I got suspect of Amber. And then they showed Amber, and she immediately hated Tara's sister, the main character. I'm like, Amber sus. I'm getting Amber alerts on my phone right now. So I was like, keep an eye on her. She's too protective of one character, but he seems to hate everybody else.
I thought Amber had a thing for Tara.
Well, yeah, I thought so too. And like I said, Tara didn't get killed in the beginning, Tara. They didn't kill her.
But they go back to kill her at the hospital.
But do they? They say Dewey needed to die.
So it was to lure Dewey in.
I think so. Especially when the killer was choose between Tara and Ricky. That's what it kind of got sus about both of them. I don't know. What would the killer have done if she straight up gave an answer? And I remember you called Ricky right in the beginning.
I totally called it that Ricky was from the beginning. And I'll tell you why I called it. In the beginning, I was like, okay, we're revisiting a lot of Scream. And in Scream, they really push that Billy is the killer, and then you think he's not the killer because they're pushing it so hard, and then obviously he is the killer. And then they even had that conversation with Dewey where he's like, the love interest, and I'm like, it's totally this guy. And I was like, he's only been around for 6 months. I couldn't really understand why he was there, putting himself in danger, and why he was interested in this girl. It wasn't like with Gail and Dewey, where you understand that they have this chemistry and you understand why they like each other. I didn't understand why these characters liked each other, except for that they worked at the bowling alley together. And then I totally called that he took her inhaler.
Yeah.
Totally called that. I also liked that in this movie, Gail and Dewey were divorced. Because I said that before we went to go see the movie, that they shouldn't still be together. One, it's just awkward because the actors were married and they're no longer married. And we saw their marriage kind of falling apart in the last movie. It seemed like it would make sense. So I was upset that they hadn't stayed in touch at all. Gail refers to him as her best friend. And I was like, well, I understand why she would say that, but I wish that they had stayed in touch more.
Yeah, it seems like he was kind of just living in shame. She didn't even know he wasn't sheriff anymore.
I also kind of wish they would have gotten back together before he died?
I think they made it clear that they cared about each other still, even if they weren't officially back together. I feel like Dewey really did finally, like, get to the end of his story. He really did, like, grow as far as he could. Because he kind of starts off as a little bit of a joke in the first movie, like a lovable joke, but still a joke. He progresses, he's sheriff in part 4, this one he's retired, and I don't know, I really liked his whole arc overall of the movies, and yeah.
And that's the thing with these characters, I'm to the point where I feel like we don't have any more stories left to tell about them.
Yeah.
Sydney is fine. All of part 3 was about her dealing with her trauma and then learning to trust the world again. Her story ended a while ago. Gail was going through a lot of stuff in Scream 4, trying to find her place. She found her place. Her story, I feel like, is done. Mm-hmm. And she's, even this one, like, I think the final little bit was that she was always an opportunist and she was always kind of taking advantage of horrible situations and profiting off of them, which was the worst thing about her character. But, you know, we stuck with her because we knew that she had a good heart. And finally, in this movie, she's like, no, you know what? I'm not going to give these guys any publicity. I'm going to write a book about Dewey.
Yeah.
And I love that. And that, to me, felt like a perfect closure to her story. So I don't need to see these characters in another movie.
She only seems like, she even says that she only came back mostly for Dewey. And I actually believed her this time. Where in other ones, if she would have said something like that, I'm like, bullshit. But no, I really do believe it. She came back for Dewey. She's covering the story, but she just wanted to check on him. Unfortunately, things didn't work out nice.
Yeah, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like those chapters are closed?
Yeah, I feel like Dewey was the only one that still had a little more to tell, but this movie told it. And now
he went out a hero.
Yeah, and we don't need to see any more of Gail and Sydney. I think them just kind of going off into sunset to live their lives is the story that's it. There's no more. We don't need to kill them in any future movies, as far as I'm concerned. They don't need to come back.
They don't need to die. I don't want them to just keep coming back in cameos where I feel like they're not having any fun and they're dragging them out. Like, I want to see them just kind of ride off into the sunset. Dewey died a hero. That's obviously the end of his story, and I think it's a good ending for him. I would rather that than being told that they died off screen in between movies, like what's happened to Laurie Strode before here. I think we're done with these characters, and this movie, it didn't wow me the way it wowed a lot of people, but I'm excited for the possibility of a continuation of this. Because there are some interesting ideas here. The final girl, I think the actress is perfectly fine. It's an interesting character concept, but I want to explore more. So this next movie could be amazing if they make another one.
And even though I found her to be pretty forgettable character-wise throughout most of the movie, like I said, the end, when we finally got to see some of that made me want more. That did leave me wanting more. So I do actually think that they could go farther with her.
See, that's the thing. These characters were forgettable for me until shit got crazy. Like, I liked Amber when she was a killer. I liked the final girl when she finally just, like, killed somebody. Like, seeing them, they seem to have the most fun with these characters when they were being vicious, when they were being violent. And I had the most fun watching them during these scenes. Like, I like Jack Quaid a lot, but he had so much more fun after it was revealed he was the killer than before when he was just the sweet boyfriend. Like, you could tell he was having a good time.
Also, though, like, that about Ricky is...
Is it Ricky or Richie?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought it was Richie, but I don't know.
Maybe it is Richie. I know it's not Randy. What I like about him finally being a killer is he's pretending that he's not into horror movies that much, but he knows stuff, and he's like, yeah, there's a reason. He's like, I'm watching him now to be prepared. But he, like, dropped names, Michael Myers, he dropped names, Jason Voorhees, he does that throughout the whole movie. And you find out he is an obsessive fanboy, but he is one of the least brutal killers in this. Like even the people who are not killers are more brutal than him. He's he really loves it, but he's not good at it.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
All the kills in this were great.
He himself, like, he's hiding and he gets shot in the leg, and, like...
I thought he was hiding because he was calling on the phone.
He probably was, but it's just, like, every moment is, like, it's kind of him being a wuss, but even when he's revealed as a killer, he still kind of is, and he's,
I don't think he's a wuss.
He, like, talks too much about he talks up a lot more of a game, where Amber was just psycho and straight to the point.
So, okay, so Amber killed Dewey. Yeah. Who killed the one related to Stu?
I don't know.
Like, I don't think we can entirely dismiss him, because all the kills in this were brutal, and obviously she didn't do all the kills.
Well, no, and I'm sure he did some of the kills, but it's like once his, like, cloak was revealed of who he was, he was sloppy and silly, but he kept loving horror, but he just wasn't an expert at it. Like, there was other people who've seen shit longer, because he's only seen movies up until this, where, you know, Sydney and Gail have seen more shit in real life, and they're more quick to, like, just fuck you up. And I liked that.
So you mean he hasn't seen as much action in real life, he's just seen movies?
He's a bit green, and it shows. Ghostface is always green, as we've talked about. He always gets his ass kicked. And I think a lot of it probably was. I know Amber got her ass kicked, too, by Dewey.
He probably was the one in the beginning of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
you know, who goes after Tara.
Well, yeah, probably. Because also, sometimes Ghostface is always pretty big. It's weird, because in these movies, like, no matter who, the Ghostface is usually big until they have revealed characters. That's just kind of how all the movies are. But anyways, I just think it's funny because he's like talking all his game, but he's not as good at it as some of them. I think it's just funny. He loves it, but he's inexperienced, and it shows.
Do you think Amber seemed experienced?
She seemed more cutthroat, yeah. Like, I think she was the muscle of the group, even though he's bigger than her. I think she's
tiny.
She's a tack dog, but she's tiny, but she's like, she go for your ankles, where he talks about it a lot.
I think they were both pretty brutal, but that's just my take on it. You let us know in the comments what you guys think.
Yeah.
One thing I really liked about this movie is that we had a great racially diverse cast. We have, you know, great female characters. We have a nice mix up of the genders. And they had a shower scene and they didn't use it to objectify a woman. Like, I'm all for, like, I'm fine with showing boobs in a movie. I'm fine with, like, zooming in on a girl's butt. But I'm just saying, make it equal, you know? Have a guy in a shower once in a while. And this movie did that. And for that, I applaud you.
Did it give you goosebumps?
Because he was in Goosebumps?
Yeah.
Well, no.
And honestly, either nudity would be kind of weird at this point in this franchise, because Scream's never had nudity, so.
You know, I'm not a teenager, so it's not going to do anything for me. But for teenage audiences, if you like dudes, there's a shower scene. And I think sexuality is a part of the slasher genre. And I just like that this movie didn't just focus on women, because, like, we've seen Heather Graham in the shower, and we've had characters in that situation before. So I'm just saying,
He seems vulnerable, that's for sure.
I liked that it was equal opportunity. Everybody is vulnerable in the shower, and yet it's always a woman in these movies. And so I like that this movie subverted that expectation, which is exactly what Scream was built on.
Exactly.
The only other thing I wanted to say was, what did you think of all the product placement? Did you notice it?
I didn't notice that much. I did notice the Pizza Hut thing that you mentioned earlier.
The Pizza Hut logo was inside the box and faced toward the camera. Like, that one was pretty bad. Like, I know people were really shitting on He's All That, because they're like, look how he's holding the Doritos bag. This movie does that too. It's like, here are some Cheetos. Or Cheez-Its. Here are some Cheez-Its. Let's lay out all of our soy sauces with the labels facing out, because they sponsored this movie. Pizza Hut. So I was like, for a theatrically released movie, like, they laid it on a bit thick.
Pizza Hut. Home of the nice slice.
Alrighty. Anything else you want to say?
See it or something. Go check this movie out if you like Scream.
This was a spoiler review. If you're here, you've already seen it.
Yeah. See it again. I want to see it again. I'll be honest with you. It's not my favorite in the franchise. I don't really know where it ranks, but I am looking forward to watching it again.
I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are and your rankings. This is a spoiler review, so it's a safe place for you to say whatever you want in the comments below. What are your rankings? Did you like this movie? Did it blow you away? I liked this movie, but it was not nearly as good as it was hyped up to be, in my opinion.
I want to know what your stab rankings are.
Stab 5 all the way. Alright, so if you want to see more of this guy, head on over to Horror Addicts. Also, be sure to check out our spoiler-free review. Links in the description below. Thank you, honey, for making the long trek here to be in this video with me.
Thanks for having me. I'm sure I'll be right back eventually.
Alright, and until we meet again, blessed be.